Halloween is just around the corner, and in this episode of Down Payment, it's going to be our haunted dealership special, talking about the crazy places we've worked and the spooky things that happened in our dealership. Stay tuned for this episode of Down Payment.
Welcome to Down Payment, the podcast for used car dealers. Prepare to learn something new about the industry that keeps us moving.
Check out all our podcast content on our social media channels. We are at Down Payment Podcast on YouTube, Down Payment Podcast on Instagram, and Down Payment Pod on X. Welcome back. We're going to have, with Halloween around the corner, our spooky dealership special. And for this, we've got our special guest, Charles, coming on. We've got some Halloween stories to share for you guys.
Hey, Ted.
Hey, Charles. Good to have you here.
Good to be back.
Well, this is a little different than our normal down payment episode, but with Halloween coming up, we figured we would do a little Halloween special.
Absolutely.
So you and I worked at like the perfect place for this episode.
It was one of the spookiest buildings I've ever worked in. I'm not exaggerating. It was almost like the entrance to a place we don't want to go.
So it really missed its calling as a Halloween haunted mansion. That place shouldn't have been a dealership. That should have been like the haunted mansion.
We could have made big money turning that into a haunted house and have to do nothing to change it.
Yeah, exactly. Literally just leave it as is and, wait for nightfall and charge for admittance.
Absolutely. There were several occasions, but there were one real occasion I'll tell you about that was scary. When you walked into this big open area, which was a showroom, and then to get back to our department, you went around the back, down the hall, up some stairs, into this windowless environment. There was no windows whatsoever in our area. And we did collections and customer service and underwriting. So it was it was a secure location. However, it was one Friday afternoon, and we were standing in the middle of the floor having a conversation, and you could hear something walk across the ceiling tile. And it started at one end and went all the way to the other end. And it really did freak people out. People were like, "You gotta be kidding me." So we called the owner up. We said, "Mark, come up here and look at this." Mark came upstairs. There was nothing. And there were about 5 of us up there. We could hear absolutely nothing. So it was Saturday morning, the next morning, and above we had one collector who was this little short lady, who was not the quickest person in the world. And we heard above her desk, scrape, 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 to the point that she screamed. She slapped this horrendous scream, ran out the door, down the stairs, into the showroom, and was not going to come back upstairs because it was that eerie. We had salespeople coming up. We had the owner coming up. People come to us because they were trying to figure out what this noise was, but they thought we were crazy. They looked up in the ceiling tile. They found nothing. Well, things start happening. Like people would leave food on their desk, and we'd come in the morning, the food would be in the middle of the floor. It was just like really, really weird, like crackers and cookies and that kind of stuff in the package. It even happened down in the owner's office. There was some cookies left on a desk. It was in the middle of the floor. Had no idea what was going on. Unbeknownst to us, one of the salesmen, God rest his soul, Curtis, put some rodent repellent out, and all of a sudden we came in one Saturday, and laying at the stairwell was the biggest rat I'd ever seen in my life.
Really?
I didn't know my life. And it looked like it fell through one of the ceiling tiles as you were starting going up the stairs. I bet the tail was 2.5 feet long. It was huge. And of course, nobody wanted to go upstairs because nobody wanted to walk around this thing. Here came Superman Curtis. He took this shovel, picked it up, and then wanted to show it to everybody.
That would be Curtis.
that was probably the scariest moment in there for something that could be explained. There were other things that couldn't be explained, but some things could be explained, and that was one.
So to give the listeners and the viewers some context, so the collections department at this dealership was upstairs, kind of in like the finished attic of a commercial building is the best I can describe it. The building was it was a huge facility, but it was broken up by being different businesses at different points in time. It was what, a 50, 60-year-old building.
Probably older than that, yeah.
Yeah, probably older than that.
Yeah. And had numerous businesses in there.
We connected and used most of it, and by most of it I mean like 2/3 of it, but even 1/3 of it was not occupied by us and was just storage of businesses that had been there in the past. But collections definitely had the creepiest part of the build. Well, the second creepiest part of the building. But
what was the first?
Oh, the back area.
Oh no, we never went in the back area. No, okay.
Oh yeah, no, the back area. That was even worse. I would often be working there the latest because I wasn't working there at the time full time, and I would come into town. I would work super late hours, and I'd be the only one that's supposed to be in the building. And my office was downstairs where, most of the people worked. But I'd be there late at night, and I'd hear someone walking upstairs. And, it was someone walking upstairs. It wasn't the sound of, even a big rat. There was someone walking upstairs. I would go upstairs, ready to fight, and I wouldn't find anything.
Right.
Yeah. And then I would go, back downstairs and, okay, I didn't hear anything, wouldn't hear anything for, an hour or so. And then there was clearly someone walking upstairs. I go upstairs again. And that happened. It didn't happen once or twice. That happened 50 or 60 times. Where I'd be working there late and I would hear someone walking upstairs and never could find anyone. I would check all the doors. Everything was locked. There was no one else. But I would hear someone walking upstairs often.
Well, upstairs we all had that little galley kitchen, and we always kept the door closed because it was kind of a eerie, kind of dark, old, musty place back there.
Yeah, that was really weird.
And you would be working and just working away, and all of a sudden you would hear a door slam in there. You would hear the oven open. And you and people would get them. They'd just go open the door and look, and nothing would be there. To the life of me, I don't know what happened, but there was a cabinet back there that had some glasses and that kind of stuff on there. And one day we heard boom, and that little shelf fell over. There was no explanation for it to fall over. There was nobody in there. And that's when people said, this place may have people here we don't want to be here.
I'll be honest, I can't believe anyone was willing to work upstairs there.
Look, most people were young and naive, and I was brave. I wasn't worried about it. But it was probably one of the eeriest places in the world. The other thing was we had a conference room upstairs. It was a big conference room, but it had that big deer head hanging on the wall that would watch you when you walked in the room. Doesn't matter where you were, the deer's eyes were on you. Now, I don't know. I guess that's how it was stuffed, but it was very eerie. But we had one collector, the same collector that the thing was on top of, Mary. She refused to go back in at that point in time because that it was watching her. And no matter where you went, the deer head was watching you. And it was so bizarre. And so we were in a meeting one day, and we were in there with Mark, who was the owner of the company. And we were in there and we were working. And all of a sudden, Mark stopped talking. And he's looking at the deer head. And we went, and Mark said, "Did you guys hear that?" And we said, "Hear what?" And we said, "We heard nothing." So we just kept on talking. The meeting went on. It was over. And after the meeting, I said, "Mark, what are you talking about?" He said, "Well, I swear the deer shifted on the wall." Well, we were done in the conference room at that point in time. Any meeting we held was held on the collection floor. We were done being in that room.
That was a strange room, and that deer head was so out of place.
First of all, it was huge.
Yep.
It was way big, but those eyes, that would, I mean, it made me nervous. When I walked in, I always turned my back to it because it would make you very, very nervous.
It was such a very strange place. It's hard to describe, and we have only talked about literally so far one half of this crazy building.
We're talking about one room of this crazy building.
Yeah, and we've got actually more to talk about because the craziest part of the building we haven't discussed at all, and it was absolutely the most bizarre place I've ever seen.
It was very unsettling sometimes. It really, really was.
We'll save that for our part 2 of our dealership, our haunted dealership Halloween special. So stay tuned where we talk about the craziest part of our haunted dealership. Check out our podcast on all our social media channels. We are at Down Payment Podcast on YouTube, Down Payment Podcast on Instagram, and Down Payment Pod on X.
Thank you for listening. Down Payment, the podcast for used car dealers, is a production of Meta Financial Services Incorporated.